Well, Dr. Wanko, was an interesting point you were making about how the states will be in on this one, because yesterday we were just reading in some dailies that states in the South, South, and Southeast were raising some objections, saying that their projects have not been factored in here. Do they have a point?
Now, let me put it this way. As I have explained, the principle is that you include projects from various states using various criteria. States make their submission of what they want to the International Economic Relations Department of the Ministry of Finance, who are responsible for aggregating and making sure that as many states as possible are accommodated, as many priority interests of the Federal Republic of Nigeria in health, education, water supply are captured, in agriculture are captured. Now, they will be in a position to explain the details. But all I can assure you is I'm aware that the whole objective, the whole stance is to make sure that projects that cover the whole country, that benefit the whole country, are captured. Of course, in the political process, different pressure groups, different geopolitical regions have a right to negotiate, to make sure that there is adequate balance. That is natural in every political system. But that does not in any way detract from the overall acting objective of the federal government of Nigeria, which is to make sure that we provide adequate infrastructure to support productive activity, to support competitive production, to support a turnaround from recession. That's the overall principle.
Let me come in here quickly. I'll start off where Chamberlain left off, because it will seem as if your answer is not too clear on that matter. First, for those who have been agitating, we want to hear from your office specifically if there are projects from those regions, and what projects do you have on the map. And to also put it again, you just reminded us that you started off by letting people know what exactly this is about from yesterday, taking 4 dailies, publications, and you have been putting all of these on in the dailies. Tell us specifically, if you also have it there with you, how you hope to repay these, this money that we're about to take month by month from different, projects that you have highlighted. How is the repayment plan so that Nigerians can also put a smile on their faces the way you're smiling at the moment?
Thank you very much. Now, to appreciate the repayment plan is to appreciate the terms and conditions of these loans. First, as I mentioned earlier, these loans are for long tenors, ranging from 20 years to 30 years. They have a moratorium period that's grace period of between 5 and 10 years. Their interest rates are low. For the very concessional loans, they're about 1.25% per annum. And for the costliest ones among them, from the commercial windows of the World Bank and the African Development Bank, as well as from the China Exim Bank, for example, they hover around 3%. So the terms are very convenient. What it means then is that you have between 20 to 30 years over which to repay these loans. And so the debt service burden, the repayment burden, is not very hard. It's not very burdensome because you are spreading over between 20 and 30 years. That's the first thing to note. And that's the point I also made earlier, that our external debt for now and for a long time to come will not impose serious debt burden on Nigeria. Because for now, over 75% of the loans we have in our portfolio are from concessional sources, which means interest rates of 1.25% per annum. And most of them have a maturity period of 40 years plus a 10-year moratorium period. So the debt service burden is quite relatively comfortable, let's put it that way. So that's the point to note. Now, the issue of repayment also has to be tied to the issue of an economic recession, which are turning around. The whole idea of all of us working, journalists, legislators, the executive, the farmers, the corporate, the private sector. The whole idea of all of us working hard over the next 3 to 5 years is to turn around this economy. And so, in the next 5 to 7 years, we should be able, all of us working together, to ensure that at least 75% of the food imports we do now will be served. We will reduce our importation of food items by at least 75%. That will save us anything between $7.5 to $10 billion per annum. Because we are having built the infrastructure that supports agricultural production, that supports processing, that supports storage, good electricity, good roads. It also means that all of us working together with the resources we are mobilizing, revenue as well as borrowed funds, in the next 7 to 10 years, at least 50% of the raw materials you import, you would have started substituting from internal raw materials. And with that, you'll be saving around $10 billion per annum again in savings. Now, what does this show you from these 2 points alone? What it shows you is that in the next 7 to 10 years, you are in a position, and we must do this. This is our responsibility as Nigerians. You would have saved about $20 billion per annum from what you spend now in importing. That reflects on your foreign exchange.
If you let me, just let me. I quite understand. I think we've dwelt so much on that. But the question Chamberlain asked, which I did say haven't actually been clearly answered, about the region, agitating and asking questions about projects specifically within that region that this proposed loan would set up to take care of in that region. Could you go through that again? Do you have it on paper? What exactly you hope to do for those people agitating and complaining that there's nothing for their region?
What I have told you is that the principle of borrowing to build infrastructure is to provide infrastructure for the whole country. When the proposal goes to the National Assembly, the politicians have a right, and it's their normal duty, to scrutinize it, to make sure that if the items that are left are included. So that's their responsibility to propose adjustments. But I'm focusing on the principle.
Okay, just quickly though, some people are saying that, I mean, because you have also written that the federal government needs to formulate an economic blueprint for the medium term. Some people will say that the economic blueprint is not very, very clear in terms of the fact that you talked about how, we should be investing in infrastructure. They talk about how the areas where the federal government wants to invest is skeptical as to whether the planned investments can bring the yields that will be needed. For instance, they say we're focusing on old instead of new rail lines. They say that we're focusing on resuscitating these old refineries instead of building new ones and selling the old ones. And then they also talk about the fact that the federal government is focusing on generation of more electricity and not focusing on the grid which will transmit this electricity. They kind of think that the areas that we're focusing on might not be sustainable on the long term. Do you agree?
No, I think the government is taking a holistic view, a comprehensive approach to the challenge. We are dealing with existing infrastructure while looking at new ones. So you have to take it, in tranches, in tracks. There are different tracks. There's a track for dealing with existing infrastructure. How do you improve them? How do you enhance them to deliver more value? There's also the track of starting up new lines. So government still has plans for modern railway lines, but it has to revive and resuscitate the existing ones. Okay? So the Petroleum Ministry has its own strategy for how to deal with the existing refineries while aggressively encouraging new types of refineries, particularly by the private sector.
You're saying that this has been thought. You're saying this has been thought through.
Yes. Okay. There's a multiple track dealing with the old and dealing with new things.
Okay. Well, this is a fine place to leave it. Dr. Abraham Wankwo, Director General of the Debt Management Office. We have to say thank you for coming on Sunrise Daily.